All right, welcome back once again, everybody. I'm Don Seifert. It's the Dr. Tree Fruit and Don podcast. It is Thursday, January 22nd. Happy New Year, happy holidays, all that other good stuff. Since we have not seen you or talked to you in a long, long time, I'm here with Dr. Carrie Peters. Say hi, Carrie.
Hey, how's it going?
And for the first time ever on the podcast, we have Dr. Sarah Serra. Say hi, Sarah.
Hi, everybody.
For those of you who don't know, Sarah's our new pomologist. Sarah, why
Located
don't you?
at located
Yep,
at the
located at Freck.
right, the in Biglerville. Yep. And for those
Uh,
of you who know Jim Shoop, that's the position that she took over.
Yeah, so why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you did your PhD, what your previous work was, that sort of thing.
Okay, so hello, everyone. I'm actually familiar with this podcast because I was listening to you like last year before interviewing for this position. So, yes, I'm Italian. I'm originally from Bologna, a city in the north central of Italy, in a plain valley where we grow a lot of fruit, cherries, apple, pear, a lot of peaches close to the sea, kiwi fruit. So I start my study in agriculture biotechnology actually. So I have no family tradition of farming or anything like that. So then a lot of people ask me how I came up with agriculture, right? Because I really was raised in the city. So a city girl, originally, not anymore. So no, my mom always loved plants. We always love to take care of plants together. I think that's where my original loves come from. And so I pursued this master in agriculture biotechnology. So I was mainly a lab person. I did a lot of molecular biology and things like that. But after that, before starting my PhD, I had the opportunity to do a couple of years of technician work where I start exploring in my University of Bologna in the Department of Pomology, a lot of experiment in with orchards. So I start being interested in that, and I start my PhD actually in pomology horticulture. It's a long name in Italian, but it's the same thing. And I focus my study on pear trees, and I combine molecular aspect of investigating key genes involved in the response of soil stress in pear trees based on different rootstocks. And I combined that with a real orchard where I took all data from the physiology point of view. I actually stressed the trees like an entire block of trees was irrigated with salt water, and I had my control and everything. So I was becoming also something else. And in the course of my PhD, for sure, I learn a lot. And during that time, I had also the opportunity to come to the US for the first time with a fellowship. I spent 9 months at Purdue University in Indiana. I was hosted by a very known professor in horticulture department at Purdue that was focusing on the study of the soil stress genes in Arabidopsis. So basically, he was laughing at me because, oh, you do trees, pear trees and salt, why that? And so it was very nice to be there and get, to know the American system. Was a little bit of a cultural shock at the beginning, but yeah, it was great. And yeah, after that, after my PhD, I had like 4 years of postdoc still at University of Bologna with my professor, Dr. Stefano Musacchi. And at some point, he said, "I'm applying for a position in US. Are you coming with me?" And I said, "Sure." And that's how the story began. So in 2013, in August, I start my new position at Washington State University as, again, a research associate for Professor Musaki that had a very important role as endowed chair in tree fruit production and orchard management. And We were located in Wenatchee, in the core of the Apple business in Washington, but still in a research and extension center. So I never lived really the campus life. So for me, the previous job was very similar to where I am right now at FREC. So research and extension center reality where we interact with the grower and we are basically where the major growers are located, basically. During that time at Washington State University, my focus was mainly physiology, orchard management in apple, mainly, and in pear. The focus was for a long time one of the new release apple from Washington State University, Cosmic Crisp. And because it was all new and was the beginning of the evaluation for that variety in orchard, in pilot trials, we had to optimize the whole growing criteria and guidelines for the grower when they were starting planting those trees. So it was a very great adventure. We did a lot of things from training system, rootstock, a lot of pollination trial to figure out the best pollinizer for the variety, pruning, training system, top graft, and several study on quality and consumer preference on dry matter for the varieties. And I would say we try to face all the possible issue or applied research for the sake of the growers as they were going to plant this variety. Other than that, on pear, also a lot of work on pear cultivar or a study on pear rootstock also there. We were evaluating some varieties collected from all around the world to test the resilience of different varieties in Washington environment that, as you might know, is pretty harsh because of the high temperature in summer and very dry. There is a humidity ranging from 18 to 30%, nothing more than that. Is very, very dry. And if we did not have the Columbia River to irrigate, that was not possible to have any growing orchard. So yeah, that's what I was doing mainly in Washington State University. And then more recent research was focused on precision crop load management. I was part of the research team led by Terence Robinson overall, but obviously in Washington, Stefano Musacchi, that we set up like coordinated experiment, multi-state experiment with New York, Michigan, North Carolina, and Washington, where we were testing, crop load management, both hand thinning or chemical thinning, to optimize the production for Gala and Honeycrisp. And that was very, very nice set of experiment, very intense for 3 years. And we just had this wrapping up symposium with the growers to present the result. So I think for now I can stop.
No, that was really good. That's a really solid overview of all the places you've been, and then you joined us in what was that? August was your start date, I think, right?
Yeah, so I start August 15th, so my 5th month is done. I start my 6th month now. Time flies.
Yeah.
So and I'm very grateful I started that time, even if it's a little bit in the middle of the season, and I felt that because I was so enthusiastic. I'm still enthusiastic. I want to meet everybody, but it was harvest. And as we know, harvest is crazy time. So I was, visiting. I went with you, Don, with Daniel and Greg visiting grower that they found time for me, but I felt was not the right moment in the season. But for me, it was very educational. I learned a lot. They told me a lot of what they were doing, their needs, their success, their struggles. So thanks to that, I could start having ideas of what to do and where to go. So I think for me it was very good to start during harvest. In fact, I also start harvesting here at Freck because Professor Shoup left me 10, 11 orchard in full production. So I couldn't see the fruit falling, right? So I had to start harvesting. So yeah, I start some preliminary data collection on some of those blocks, and it's very good.
Yeah, you started at a really interesting time because you did kind of get just to see the whole broad swath of like what we were doing out east in my area and what was going on down in like Adams County and near Freck and then we went down to like Lancaster and I don't know, I thought those were really nice trips and everyone seemed super enthusiastic to like get the chance to chat with you and gosh, they like talked your ear off and it is very impressive to watch you take notes because you are much better at it than I ever was. So
Yeah, that's something, it's still like that since high school. I was in charge of taking notes for everybody. I keep going. No, no, I was very happy to meet the growers. And again, I think I met a couple of dozen of them, and there are many more. So if I haven't visited yet, I'll come in the near future. But for me, it was impressive to see the diversity of variety, and they grow 15 more apples, 15 peaches, all in the same farm. For me, it was like, wow, I've never seen something like that. I was more used to, larger acreage of maybe few specific varieties of interest and keep going until you don't see the end of them, right? Here is just so different, and all the needs for each of the varieties can be different. So it requires so much knowledge and so much effort. That's, yeah, really impressed me. So I think was very, very, again, very educational for me.
well, I know a lot of folks were really happy that you took the time to like swing by and say hello and get to know folks. So
Oh, I'm
um
glad.
yeah. So I was gonna say you kinda already answered this because I was gonna ask like how you kind of got interested in like botany or plant sciences, but you had answered that like way at the beginning. Because usually when we talk to folks who get into pomology or horticulture or that sort of thing, they have a farming background. But as you said, that was not the case. So that's really interesting. Did you have a different field of science that you were interested in, or was it always like, no, I want to do plants?
No, I think in high school, I did like a scientific um, type of high school, and I always loved science and biology, so that was already my guess. And then when was time for me to choose between veterinary, medical, industrial, and plants, I don't know why. I mean, from the gut, I had no doubts, plants, and that I always started. And from being a lab person to become like a pomologist, I really need to thank my advisor, Dr. Musaki, because he taught me, everything. And he was also making joke of me that he made me become something else. I'm still what I was before, but kind of a sort of broader view, just going through things. And I'm grateful of my background because sometimes I see things a little bit from a different perspective, that maybe I don't know the name of an insect or a name or a disease, like on top of my mind, but different point of view sometimes can help. So I'm very happy with the path I had in my career so far.
I can't remember who I was having this discussion with, but it wasn't all that long ago, and it was one of their favorite things of the spring meetings, which you have not gotten to partake in yet. But it was when Carrie and Greg and whether it was Rob or Jim, whoever would come around early, and the three of them would all go around and just look at the orchard for like an hour before the meeting would start, and they'd just get to like pick their brain and say, "What do you think about this?" And then Carrie and Greg would say, "Well, I think it's this, I think it's this," and they'd go back and forth for a couple minutes, and then Greg or Rob would say, "Well, hold on, what about the plant itself? What about this?" And that was always really fun for them, and I think that's a fun Three Musketeers thing for folks to be able to do, and it's a nice system for the growers to get the chance to have that like interaction with the specialists. And it's we get so focused on our own fields, right? That broader picture of like, well, hold on, I should be talking to my peers, to my coworkers about this is really helpful.
Well, I'm sure, but here is FRAC is a really a unique opportunity. There is all disciplines are represented, right? So, and we all focus on trees. So, I guess this is a good resource of all in one place. So, I think we should take good advantage of that and do things together because, again, we can reach more information, do better research. For me, that's kind of very intriguing part of this, like, being able to work with Carrie or Dave or Greg and different, aspect that by myself I would not probably pursue. So that's probably a very nice perspective for the future.
So to get into some of that meat and potatoes, if you, I know there's probably like 800 different topics you would like to work on over the next couple years. But if you were going to prioritize like three research topics, barring any major catastrophe that comes down the pipeline, what would you say that your like three main like research priorities you'd like to do would be
Yeah.
for the next couple years?
So I think the first one that is very close to me is pruning. And I mean, nothing new in that, right? But I observe things and I know because of the shortage of labor and again, everything said above, pruning sometimes um, get a little bit neglected, could get a little bit neglected. And but I see that having a very important role in the whole canopy management for the following season. So all the discussion and the input I received about poor finishing or some apple varieties or like disease pressure of some specific canopy with low porosity, for me is automatic thinking about we can do something with the pruning. And maybe again, I don't have a magic wand. I haven't even seen a entire season. So I'm not sure 100%, but I know where I want to try and what I want to try. So I want to do more renewal pruning, try to kind of learn and observe where specific variety are setting fruit. So work on the fruiting habits of the variety and prune accordingly because each variety can have a different fruiting style. So a lot of the time when the variety set fruit on lateral flower bud of 1 year's old wood, it leads, to a poor quality. Those are very different fruit that they set later in the blooming time, and sometimes they get crowded and they are actually clustering in a way that can obstruct the canopy and also again not optimizing the quality at all. So I'm gonna focus on that in particular, starting with Evercrisp that I heard is very appreciated by the consumer, but is objectively poor in attribute from the aesthetic point of view. So it's not an attractive apple, but it's very tasty. So I want to try to do something, and maybe everybody already tried. So I don't want to be arrogant or nothing, but I have some ideas and I want to try that. So pruning and then combine pruning with try to optimize the harvest windows. I saw in general that like sometimes harvest maybe this 2025 was a little bit late sometimes because of such a peculiar season you had. Maybe the maturity got pushed But I saw a lot of situation where there was a higher college, like higher disorders in general in the crop, in the harvest crop, and I think that could be tweaked a little bit working on harvest windows. So that's what I actually started during harvest, looking at weekly harvest to see how the product will store later in cold storage and see how the quality will be optimized, and also use that to see also the response for the consumer and their feedback. That would be the first one. Then you said 3, right? So then the second one will be working. We already started working with the ag engineering team here at FRAC. So Dr. Long had already like a block already established, and we are planning to combine traditional orchard management with technology, like an emerging technology. So, for example, we are gonna follow all season from pruning to the end of the season, and where I will do the regular orchard management, we are coupling with the emerging technology. For example, pruning, I'll do the regular pruning, but we will scan the trees to try to teach the machine where to cut young trees. So we have the opportunity to follow a new block. So the trees were planted in 2025, so they are still very small. So we could count buds and have the vision system counting buds. That's a very important thing for the crop estimate. And we know that growers are very interested in finding tools like mobile devices and things like that can help them in regulate the crop. And earlier is the evaluation of the flower bud on the tree, more option you have to reach then the desired crop load before harvest. So also in that SCRI, we work on some of those vision systems where you can count the flower, but then you prune accordingly, so you know how many buds you want to leave on the trees and so on. So Dr. He has already started this, so we decide to combine those things together, and also he has a lot of other technologies like the chemical thinning, like the don't remember the name. So the modulated thinning, like depending on the amount of flower cluster the vision system perceives. So we are gonna do this together and possibly follow this block for multiple years. We already install a weather station. We'll have like water potential sensor. So we will regulate irrigation based on actually soil moisture and not just so with some educated information to try to bring this to like a modern orchard with full technology implementation, let's say. Then last one of the 3, just to be short, rootstock evaluation. So again, is nothing new at Penn State, because Dr. Sean Kumar is our representative for Penn State for the NC 140 group. That's our US working group for the North Central. Is a group that has a long history in evaluating rootstocks for all crops. Apple, pear, peaches, cherry, and basically all the states that have a relevant production of any given crops, they can be part of the group and sign up for those multi-state projects where each state receives a protocol and is requested to follow the protocol all in the same way. In this manner, the output will be comparable across all the states. So we actually have 2 projects already ongoing. One in Rock Spring, Gala, planted in 2019 on different rootstock that Sean is following. And here I inherited like a Crest Heaven peach block with 8 different rootstock that Professor Shoup planted in 2017 and followed until actually this year. So we are gonna have one more year of result, but both Sean and I went to Vermont this last fall and met with the whole group. We are gonna plant new trial for the future, so we are very excited. I'm actually join a small group of peach enthusiastic young um, researcher and extensionist. We are gonna plan like a training system by rootstock, new trial that will be planted in Georgia, Texas, Utah, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and so on. So we are working on that right now, and it's very exciting because we haven't done new trial in quite a while. So it's time now to set something in the ground for our growers to see potential increase in density for peaches and new training system. So those are the main three things.
Nice, that's awesome. I just gave a talk yesterday for the New Jersey Vegetable Convention, and I know they're chomping at the bit for peach information. Not that they're not doing really good work over at Rutgers, but more peach work will very readily be welcomed by the peach growers, I think. So I think they'd be really excited to hear that there's more peach work being done. So
Yeah, I'm excited to go back to work on peaches because I was doing in Italy, but then Washington was not a crop of importance because it's not very much grown over there. So now here is huge. So I'm very happy to try to do something new and move a little bit forward in terms of research and demonstration for the growers.
yeah, I can like hear the peach growers now like cheering and throwing their hats in the air. So that's really good to hear.
Okay.
So cool. That's really awesome. And I know three topics of like, hey, pick your top three is like picking your three favorite children. So that's not really a fair question to ask, but like otherwise this would be like I'm sure this would be like a 4 hour podcast. So
No, I can.
You had hosted some pear quality and apple quality trial. Well, there was tastings, I should say, not trials, tastings. And so I guess Dawn and I were talking earlier also via email as far as your plans for doing that. You had alluded to the harvest win like trying to nail down the harvest window for Evercrisp. And I remember participating in the apple tasting, and I remember our Evercrisp was there 3 times, but it was 3 different harvest windows. And to me, it tasted different. Like what I noticed, the different. I don't think it was. I don't know if it was different for other people, but I could tell the difference in taste based on the harvest. But yeah. So just curious about future tastings of at Freck.
Oh yeah. So yeah, thank you for the question. So actually that was something I was very curious. And again, it started from my conversation with the growers where they were saying, sure, we have to have Honey Crisp because of the high demand from the consumer. But and I always asking about Evercrisp and said, yes, sure, they love Evercrisp, but it doesn't look good. It's not pretty. So then I incorporated 3 harvest windows of Evercrisp with standards like Honeycrisp, Gala, and Fuji, all harvest here at Frac, like at the right time and everything. And also 3 harvest windows of Ruby Rush, that is a new variety. Is relatively new. It has been tested in New Jersey, but again, I don't see much of it around, and it's very attractive. So I was creating this fine contrast between very good but not attractive Evercrisp versus attractive and who knows, probably good Ruby Rush together with the standard. So long story short, I can talk more, but I'll be short. So the best result we got as overall judgment was for the last harvest of Evercrisp, that actually for me was the first week of October. That's not really very late for Evercrisp, but it was already moving very fast in terms of maturity indices. So that was the last harvest for me. After that, the starch was already very, very degraded and everything. So in fact, that result the best overall liking of everything, but at the same time, the least preferred in terms of appearance. So it's exactly what the growers told me. Perfect, except that is sad because it's not attractive. At the same time, Gela, Fuji, and Honeycrisp, they rank very low in the overall liking. So that means there is a big option or a big space for improvement for those new emerging varieties, because if we can find a way to fine tune their growing protocols and guidelines, there are chance that they can be competitive as much as Honeycrisp. I don't know, I'm shooting high, but yeah, the result was very clear. I mean, statistically significant. So that's why I'm intrigued to keep going with that and actually looking more into those new varieties, if they are more for long-term storage, like pick and sell type of, in order to, all our growers have different business type of businesses. So some wants to have a direct product to sell with a kind of physiological maturity already reached, in the way the consumer are happy to eat that piece of fruit. Other, they just prefer long-term storage, so you have to harvest them at different criteria for satisfy the long-term storage, obviously. On the other side, I did the pear also because there was a pear block and I could not help myself. I had to do something with that. So yeah, in particular, there is this variety, Arrow Sweet, that I think you all know, but is a far blight resistant variety. Is a cross. The mother is Bartlett, so is very attractive. Has also a blush if it's exposed to the sunlight, and is particularly sweet and crispy. So I also did harvest windows for that. And because I know, and also in Washington, we struggle a lot with the fact that the pear consumption is going very low, and new generation, they don't even almost consider the pear anymore. But there is space for improvement, particularly few select products that provide excellent eating experience, the consumer will come back and buy that. So that in that case, I did a comparison between Harrow Sweet and, again, standard varieties from the store, because I could not have all in the orchard. But that was good because getting from the store is exactly what you have as experience when you buy the pear. So I got Red Anjou, Bosque, and regular Bartlett from the store, from the shelves. And that was a bad experience. So actually, the Arrow Sweet scored the top in overall liking, like 7.9 out of a 9 scale. And that was the second harvest time. So my harvest windows was beginning of September to third week of September. So the middle week of September provide the best liking. But again, is also much appreciated for the appearance. So I think it's a promising pear, and I couldn't have the feeling yet how much is planted here or how much the growers like it. But I had it here, so I started, and then maybe we can build something from there. But again, the store bought pear provided like a very bad experience. So that's the proof that we need to do something. We can now put on shelves fruit that are disappointing our consumer. Otherwise, we cannot push anything further. So, yeah, those are my two consumer panel at FRAC, and it was very fun. We used the lunch, no, sorry, the mid-morning break in the auditorium, and I think it was, at least I think it was fun.
Well, it sounds like we will have future tastings at Freck, so I'm looking forward to that. So that's great.
Yeah, we will. We'll try probably also with peaches and
All
yes,
right.
that's
Excellent,
good.
excellent.
So just as a hypothetical, and you could be like, Don, yeah, you can't ask me that. That's too early to say this, but so does that mean that like long term we need to be giving different recommendations for our harvest windows? Is that kind of like the end goal for this kind of work? Is
More than giving different recommendation, I would say create sensitivity to maturity indices in the way we could give each of our growers the knowledge they need to take those decisions. Like because third, second, first week of any given month is not a parameter. We know, I mean, it's easy, but never every year is different, and every season speed or delay the maturity in a different way. So that's what I want to do. I want to characterize those harvests with numeric data that can tell us where we are in any given time. Then those data could be compared next year and say, are we completely off? And then I can say, yes, we can be off of 3 weeks because like the example of Evercrisp, I could not leave those Evercrisp nor those Ruby Rush hanging any longer. The Ruby Rush actually fell by itself the following week, means that was the very end of the options, right? So I want to provide tools to understand better with multiple kind of approaches of how the fruit evolves, the maturity evolves on the trees, and what happened also from harvest into storage. That would be my idea. But yes, we need absolutely to be flexible with the recommendation, because when we harvest too late, again, we cannot expect those fruit to have a storability that's satisfactory more than probably 4 months. Usually, if you harvest well and you do a regular storage, you can reach obviously more than 6 months of storage. But again, it needs to be harvested at the right time.
awesome. Well, thank you for that because I think that's really interesting, especially this past year. We're doing some of the maturity update stuff. We saw stuff go quote unquote like out of sequence for what we'd normally expect. So it's really nice to hear you be interested in that work and be interested in like what those harvest parameters look like. And I know for me that would make my job a lot nicer because it's really hard to be like, yeah, it's delicious harvest. It's like, no, dude, they gotta go. Those need to be off the trees like 2 days ago.
Yeah, and that creates also panic, right? So while if you start following and see things evolving, maybe you have less like emergency or panic situation. That's how I also see that. And for sure, all the data collected before me for about the maturity, those are very important because they represent the historical evolution, right? All those needs to be kept and compared, I think, year after year. So how is changing? Are we seeing the same things? Are we completely off? How much off we are and why? When was bloom? How many days after full bloom? And all those considerations. I think we can get a lot of information out of those experiment or yes, test.
One more
Okay.
question. No. It's more of like it's not a research question. It's just a personal question. So you've been here, you're starting on month 6. So any thoughts for posterity about your first 5 full months out east? Because very different, a little more humidity. I mean, we've got a monster snowstorm breathing down our neck right now. And so so just curious as far as your thoughts so far of being out east.
So I arrived in July and was super humid and I had to adjust. For me, it was a couple of days. I was struggling a little bit, but because I was used to Washington, right? But then is very, very, very similar to Bologna, my hometown, Italy. So it's just like I need to recalibrate back to humidity level. I can do that. So, but then August was amazing. I don't know if you remember. I mean, it was pleasant and very
That's
good
unusual.
temperature.
August was
Yes,
an unusual. That's not
some,
typical, so don't get used to
somebody
it.
somebody said that I brought the good weather, but I can't promise much longer. If I'm not new anymore than the weather. No, storm speaking, yeah, I'm ready for the snow storm, but again, we will be in Hershey. Hopefully, everything goes well despite the snow. Again, I'm not very used to so much snow. We had some in Wenatchee, but the number I'm reading in the forecast for this weekend are like out of my scale. So I'll have to readjust. But so far, so good. Here at the center, everybody is super nice. I felt right away very welcome. And I'm building my group. I have like an assistant that's coming, part-time. And yesterday I found my students for fall 2026. So I'm very happy. I commit to have a master student that will come and work. And now I'm searching my like a senior technician for the program. So things are going. I mean, I feel always behind, but I guess this is for maybe a normal feeling, but that's things are going well. Yes.
Well, I think you've been an amazing addition to Freck, and I know I can speak probably for everyone here that we're thrilled to have you here. So, it's been a lot of, she's been very a go-getter, and I would say things are getting cleaned that have been long overdue that needed to be cleaned that we've been really excited about.
Thank you,
So
Karen.
yes, thank you, Sarah, for that motivation of long overdue decluttering of certain common
I'm he-
spaces.
I'm here for that. I have so many
Yeah.
more in the sleeve.
Yeah, I heard that things were getting cleaned at Freck and my jaw dropped, and when I finally picked my back up off the floor, I went, "Good. That's great to hear."
It was very cathartic, I will say. It was very cathartic to be able to purge a lot of stuff. So yeah, long overdue,
Well,
Oh,
but it's
and
done.
another news is that we are gonna have the upgrade of our fruit packing line,
Oh
sorting line
yes, that's
here
right.
at Freck. And thanks to my startup and a contribution from Freck, we are gonna upgrade our vintage uh, sorting line to industry standard. So we will be able to sort for color and size, and it will be available for all the programs at Frac and Sean, and we will all use this new system and learn together, I hope, as soon as possible. Probably March, we will get the installation done.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that just because I've got russet. We always rate russet and we look at back spot on peach, and so having a really nice vision tool, I should say sorting tool, would be really nice to be able to capture that information. So
Yeah, and
I'm looking forward to that.
the good part is that we can also get some help from some of the growers that have the same system, for example, to kind of mimic as close as possible to the sorting they will do with their own apple to have a better idea of a real cacao to eventually even associate potential cost and make a little bit of economics out of it. But also we have the power to maybe train the optical device for like Carrie was saying, some specific things based on color nuances, right? Something
Hmm.
particularly black, we can teach the machine everything that's like that. Remember, and we are going to quantify as a percentage of the area of the fruit. That's very, 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 very
Oh,
important for us for the
I'm
future. But we'll have to work a lot. The
Yeah,
training.
it'll be a process. It won't happen overnight, but it'll be a great new addition, or I should say, an upgraded addition for Frack and the tree fruit folks. So
I agree. Yes.
that's awesome. That's cool to hear. And thank you today for coming on here today. Super excited to have you on. It's been overdue, but glad we could get the time to get you on here and chat with you for a bit. And hopefully this wasn't too painful for you, and you'll join us again for more episodes. And Yeah, thanks again for jumping on here.
Yeah, really
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Thanks for your time. Yeah.
Thank you both, and I hope to see all the growers at the Hershey next
Yeah.
week.
And
Yeah,
that is a good segue as far as our meeting announcements. So Dawn, do you want to, I mean, you are one of the co-organizers for Hershey, so I'll let
sure
you talk
am.
about
Uh,
I'll let you sort of give the Hershey spiel.
sure. So obviously, next week, starting on the 26th. Nope, that's not where it is. That's not my calendar. Uh,
Tuesday the 27th.
yeah, the 27th. There's some pre-conference stuff on the 26th. But starting on the 27th, we will Hershey begins. The Mid-Atlantic Fruit and Vegetable Convention begins in Hershey, bright and early. That runs the 27th, 28th, 29th. If you are that is happening, come snow or meteor strike, I guess. Uh, so just take your time getting there. It's not going to go anywhere, I promise. It will be there when you get there. But yes, please, if you have not already registered, there will be registration available. I would highly recommend in the future doing a little bit of pre-registration if you can. I think it saves you some money versus at the door. Um, Hotel rooms are likely pretty full booked because the lodge usually gets pretty full up. Um, that said, I'm quite pleased with the program overall. I did hear a little bit from Rutgers yesterday that it's a little Penn State heavy this year, but I'm going to take that with a grain of salt from the Rutgers folks. Uh, so next year, I promise I'll get more of the Rutgers folks on. That said, I think the program's really, really good. We have Dr. Randy Beaudry coming in from Michigan State as one of our speakers, and Randy's really cool to work with. He's a super knowledgeable guy. I've really liked working with him in the past, so I'm really, really excited for him to talk. If you do see him in the hallway, say hello. He's super friendly. And that's Hershey for the most
Yeah.
part. We have a Young Grower Alliance luncheon on Tuesday where Dr. Sarah will once again be our speaker, so she can do a little meet and greet in person. That's at noon in one of the Cocoa Suites, usually I think Cocoa Suite 1 and 2. Uh, I'm sure there's something else that I'm forgetting for Hershey, but I don't know. My brain's turned into oatmeal, so that's all I got.
Folks know the drill. And then, so we have a week in between Hershey and the winter fruit schools. So the winter fruit schools start on Tuesday, February 10th, and that will be in the Appalachian fruit region. And that's going to be occurring at Ridgetop Orchards in Fishertown, Pennsylvania this year. Then on February 11th, we're going to be in Erie County in northeast Pennsylvania, which is in the northwestern corner of the state. Make it make sense, I understand. So that's going to be at Birch Farms Country Market and Winery. And Thursday, February 12th, this is our western region, so the Pittsburgh area, and we're going to be at Sorgel's Orchards again, and that's in Wexford. On Monday, February 16th, that is the Adams and Franklin County joint meeting. And also concurrently happening is the Spanish session, which will be occurring in the library at that meeting as well. On Tuesday, February 17th, this is the Lancaster and York meeting, which will be held at the Lancaster Farm and Home Center in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Wednesday, February 18th, this is the Central Susquehanna Northeast region, which will be at the Union County Government Center in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. And then finally, last but not least, it is the Southeast region on Thursday, February 19th. That's at the Berks County Ag Center in Leesport, Pennsylvania. So as of right now, I believe in CVent, we have three of these meetings that are showing up. Two meetings haven't shown up yet, aren't online. And the Adams Franklin County meetings, that is being facilitated through the Adams County Grower Association. So that you will not see that on CVent. So that's done independently. So we've got lots of good meetings coming up over the next month. So hope to see everyone there. And be careful this weekend with the crazy winter weather. And yes, just to reiterate what John said, Hershey is still going on. Might be a little slower getting there, but the system should be all moved out by Monday afternoon. So,
Awesome. So, Sarah, thank you again for
yeah,
jumping on here
thanks,
today.
Sarah.
Really appreciate
Thank
you taking
you,
your
both
time.
of you. Thank you.
So say goodbye, everybody.
See you
Bye.
later.
See you.